Welcome to lesson 2 of learning to FPV. So today we're going to talk about aviation theory and propellers. Some of the aviation theory falls under like fixed wing stuff, and some of it is quadcopters. Just bear with me, okay? So to start with, we're going to start with the forces of flight, okay? So there's four main ones. There's lift and weight, which are equal and opposite, just like in physics. And there's thrust and drag, okay? It's a little weird with quadcopters, but those are generally the four forces. Weight counteracts lift via gravity, and drag is resistance airflow, which is counteracting thrust. Drag is a little more present when we talk about stuff with fixed wing stuff, but right now we're just going to focus on quadcopters. So resultant force. And I'm going to use this square as an example. Think of this as my vertical force, or my lift, and this is my horizontal force, or thrust. If these are equal, I'm going to have a perfect force at 45 degrees, and if this was my drone, I'm going to go off in this direction. If this force is greater than this force, then I'm going to increase altitude. Less than weight, I'm going to decrease altitude. Whatever you're doing, there's resultant force. Okay? This is the lay of the groundwork for what we're about to talk about. Okay? So first we're going to talk about when all the motors are equal. If I'm perfectly flat and all my motors are equal, I'm not going to move. Okay? I'm just going to hold in this position. That is true as long as the force created by the motors as a collective is greater than the force of gravity. Okay? So if my force is less than gravity, I'm up in the air, I'm going to fall. If my force is greater than gravity, I'm going to increase. So that's when all motors are equal. So when the front motors or the back motors have greater force than their counterparts. So if back is greater than front is greater than back, that is where pitch comes in. So when you pitch up, what's happening is these motors the force created by them is greater than the force created by the front ones. Just as if I pitch backwards, then the force created by the front ones are greater than the back ones. Now, at this point, you've hopefully done some time in the sim, what happens when I flip forward and then I'm not in angle mode, okay? If I'm in acro mode and I flip forward, I'm holding here. Then throttle, there's a resultant force going this way. So when we talk about roll, roll is the same as pitch, except for now I have a right side and a left side. So when my left side is greater than my right side, I'm going to lean to the right. When my right side is greater than my left side, I'm going to lean to the left. Yaw gets weird. Yaw isn't a force by the propellers like we think of creating greater thrust here to rotate there. It has to do with the counter torque of the motors, which is why it's less reactive. So in summary, we have throttle, which is all motors. We have pitch back and forth, and we have roll, and we have yaw, which is why like when coordinated turns happen, I have to roll and yaw, okay? So to help you kind of think through what you've done in simulator and to help you kind of visualize it, when we talk about coordinated turns, which is something that a lot of people struggle with at first, a lot of people roll, but if you've noticed when you roll, you just kind of lean. You just go off into the distance. When you just yaw, you kind of just start looking up at the sky. A coordinated turn is when you roll and yaw, and you kind of rotate the whole drone. Often, like something I personally struggle with, especially when I'm trying to go fast in racing, is I don't give enough yaw, so I just kind of lean and fly somewhere else. So propellers, they work just like a wing, except for the fact that there's 3 wings on this one. There could be 5 wings on it if it's a 5 prop. There could be 2 if it's a biprop. But generally speaking, they move the air and they have the same pressure difference, same physics behind wings, except they're rotating. So we're not going to get into props in and props out. That's a discussion for a later point. You can make your own decisions on that later, but whichever way you choose or whichever way your drone is flying, you have to make sure that the leading edge is facing the direction. So if I am props out, I need to be facing this direction, okay? Because this leading edge is what's creating the lift. That's part of the reason why you need to make sure that you put your props on correctly. If I don't put my props on correctly, and let's say I have props in orientation instead of props out, so this on the front left would be wrong, or if on the picture you see it's number 4. If my trailing edge is facing the wrong direction, I'm literally, the force is reversed and I'm pulling my drone towards the ground. Okay. Now, if you put a single prop on wrong and you're pulling it towards the ground and all the other ones are expecting to lift off the ground, then you're going to just basically do this and crash instantaneously and never go anywhere. I hope that helped you learn some of the stuff that you're doing in the simulator. So part of the reason I made this lesson was because I want you to visually see what you're doing in the simulator, because in the simulator, you're obviously in first person view unless you did the one where you can see the outside of the drone. But if you're in first person view, sometimes it's hard to figure out what you're doing in the air, as in what the drone is doing. So it can be even more difficult to kind of analyze where you're going wrong. So whether you're giving it too much roll and not enough yaw, whether you're not giving it enough throttle, this hopefully helps you understand that.